tired of living paycheck to paycheck and just want to be financially stable, then this video is for you. So stick around and let's learn some ways that you can have positive cash flow and be financially stable. First off, the easiest way to have positive cash flow is to increase your income. One of the easiest ways, or maybe even the easiest, low-hanging fruit that you can increase your income is the place that you work. Have you been exceeding in your work environment? Have you been working maybe above and beyond what you've been even asked to? One thing you can do is you can go to your employer and say, hey, I've really been excelling in this. And you've seen, how hard I've been working, how late I've been staying, and how much, my department's growing, or whatever you're doing has just been really doing really well. And so even going to your employer and just asking, are you willing to give me a raise? I would love to be able to maybe quit this other job and get a raise. And this is something that I've done in the past, and I know it works. The employer is going to see that as an incentive, and they're going to want to keep you around. So a great way to do this is just say, hey, I want to stick around and I love this job, but I need a little bit more money. Would you be willing to give me $1 raise? If you don't ask, you're not going to know. Another option is, how much free time do you have? Are you sitting at home in the evening? Do you have weekends? A way to have positive cash flow is to fill that free time that you have, that you're filling with maybe entertainment, and take some of that free time, take half of that free time and look for work that's going to fill that free time. There's all kinds of services now that you can work at to fill that free time. Think of things like Uber,
DoorDash, Uber Eats, skip the dishes.
These are just part-time roles where you don't have to drive to a place and you're actually in control of your own hours, and you can load up on as much as you want. So you may think that you're in a spot where, man, I just can't get ahead. But actually you can if you take on more workload. Do this in a short period of time, maybe 2 years, 3 years, where you're doing something like this, and then work towards getting away from that. But in order to get positive cash flow and just be financially stable, sometimes you just got to work
a little bit harder.
Another good option is making passive income. So how do you make passive income? Well, passive income could be from dividends from your stocks. So what dividends are the companies giving you a portion of their profits. And so if we look at a company like Bell, so Bell Canada gives about a 12% dividend annually. So when you buy their stock, they're going to give you 12% back. So if you buy $1,000 in Bell Canada stock, then they will give you 12% of $1,000. Dividends are an excellent way to try to have some sort of passive income. Some other bigger ways to get more cash flow is by investing in rental properties. And I'm not going to go into that too much, but you could go into a place where you invest in rental properties and you have renters, but I would almost say that this isn't really passive, because you need to actively search out people that can rent, that are people that will continue to pay their rent. And then anytime something breaks, you have to be there to fix it. So I would say rental income is something that you might do later on, after you've gotten to a place where you're debt free and don't have those extra debts, and you'll have the space and time to work on your rentals.
Oh, I'm just looking over my expenses.
Another way is to cut extra expenses. So another way is to cut excessive expenses out of your budget. So what are these things that you can really, maybe cut out of your budget? One of the ways to do this is to actually have a budget. So maybe you have a budget tracker. I'm going to show you guys what a blank budget tracker looks like. So with this, you can have your income, your savings, and then your expenses for the month. So you're going to list out all of your expenses. And once you've done listing out all your expenses, you're going to look through those expenses and see which ones you can really cut. Now, often what people do is they go to food, because that's an easy one, and they try to cut that. But you need to eat. So the first thing you're not going to cut is any of your four walls. And this is kind of a Dave Ramsey principle. So you have your home, so that would be mortgage or rent. You have your heating, and you have your electricity, and you have your water. And so those four expenses you do not want to cut. So the first one, cut out subscriptions. What things are you subscribing to that maybe you're not actually using? Is there a gym membership that you have that you just haven't used in 3 months? Cut it out. Can you bring those gym memberships down even lower? Are there other subscriptions that you're subscribing to that you can either cut, or what often some subscribers do is some subscriptions have, is if you decide to cancel, they'll give you an option and they'll say, hey, I know you're canceling, but what if we gave this to you for $5 a month instead of $9? And you can easily do that. So maybe you still want to keep that subscription, but for the next 3 months, you're only paying $5 instead of $9. Now, I want to tell you that not all parties are going to do that. There are going to be some that will, and that's a great way to save money. And what this really is about is it's about cutting between needs and wants. So sometimes, we do want to have Uber Eats and we want it to come to our house. But do we need to spend $100 on a meal that actually, if we cooked ourselves, would be $10? Probably not. We don't need to be spending that money on Uber Eats. So let's cut those frivolous things out of our budget until we get to a place where we have positive cash flow. Another really great way to cut unnecessary expenses is by negotiating with your bills. Wow. You may not even know that this is possible. Let's say your insurance is coming due. Well, go out and look at other insurance companies. Look for other maybe renter's insurance if that's what you're looking at. Look for other auto insurance as it's coming due. So make sure to negotiate. Don't just flip over. What about your cell phone? A cell phone this is my cell phone. So a cell phone provider may charge you all kinds. Can you look for different discount providers? One of the discount providers that I use for our family is Public Mobile. And Public Mobile, you can find a plan for $15 a month. $15 a month. Now, that doesn't give you any data. It only gives you 250 megabytes. It gives you unlimited texting, and you can receive calls, but you only have, I think it's 30 minutes of call time or something like that. But often we don't even use the phone to call. And you can find different places where you can use Wi-Fi. Now, if you have the ability to get data, even with Public Mobile, you can buy a $25 plan where you get 3 gigs of data, or a $50 plan where you get 20 gigs of data. Anyway, what do you need? And what can you get by with? You can get by with a $15 phone plan instead of a $120 phone plan. You are saving money in that way. Maybe your insurance, maybe you're overinsured. Do you have a 10-year-old vehicle and you're just insuring it for collision and everything, but you've had a good driving record? Maybe take that collision off. There's just different ways that you can save money. Find out from your internet provider. Are you paying $90 for internet when you could be paying $30? These are just other ways that you can make sure you are financially stable and have positive cash flow, and things that you can do in the future as well. A budget is a big cash flow king way to make sure that you're financially stable. Make sure to have a budget. This is a way to find out where all your money is going, all the money that's coming in, and how it's going out. So create a budget. So there are all kinds of budgeting rules. And one of the budgeting rules that you can use is the 50, 30, 20 rule. 50% of your money goes to needs. These are all the things that you need. Your house, your hydro, your food, all of these expenses that you need. And you might even include internet, your phone, those kinds of things. Insurance. So 50% of your money goes to your needs. Then 30% of your money goes to your wants. And what are things that are wants? Well, that also might be the internet. But actually, it's going to be things like, I want nice clothes, or I want shoes, or, I want to have nice pens. I want to have this nice binder when actually I could just use a scratch pad like this. These are wants, not necessarily needs. So 30% to wants, 50% to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings. And so this is a good budgeting rule. But one of the things you really need to do is sit down and make sure you know exactly all the money that's coming in. So that's your income. So what are you making at your job? What are you making at, maybe you have government benefits coming in, and maybe also you have a side hustle of some sort. So count all those things in one column of what's coming in as your income, and then go through your expenses. How much are you paying for gasoline to fill up your car every month? How much are you paying for hydro? How much are you paying for electricity? How much are you paying for water? All of these different types of expenses. How much are you paying for your cell phone bill? I could go through a giant list, and maybe I will have a video where we just walk through what a budget really looks like, if that's helpful to you. I think it probably is, because a lot of the people that I talk to have never done a budget, and they just go month to month. Money comes in, they spend it, it goes out, and at the end of the month, they have no idea why they have no money left. And it's because you don't know what's coming in and you don't know what's going out. A really great app for this is the Every Dollar app. Again, it is a Dave Ramsey app. Another app is YNAB, and it's You Need a Budget. That one's a little more involved, and maybe we'll walk through that in the future. But these things, recording your income, recording your expenses, having a budget, are really going to help you with your cash flow. One of the things that you really need to do first when you create a budget as well is, from my perspective, I'm a Christian, and so the top line for us is that we give back to the Lord what has been given to us. So we set aside monies for giving, and you could even do this in just like, I'm going to give to a charity, or I'm going to give to something that you're really passionate about. It could be a political party, whatever. But you give that first, and then you pay yourself. You give yourself savings, and you set those monies aside in a different account that's absolutely separate from your spending account. Otherwise, you're just going to spend that money anyway. So make sure to pay yourself first in order to save or invest. And also give. Giving is an extraordinary thing. When you can give to others, it really provides others joy for what you can give, and also provides you joy for being able to give out of the abundance that's already been given to you. All right, guys, one of the hardest ones is debt. Now, you don't want to carry debt. Debt is really going to put a stranglehold on your cash flow. So you want to try to get out of debt as fast as possible. So as soon as you get all your expenses, all your income, whatever you have left, if you have any sort of debt, if there's credit card debt, consumer debt, maybe personal loans, any of these things, you want to pay those off as soon as possible. And one of the best ways to pay these off is called the debt snowball. And really what this means is find your smallest debt and pay it off first. Just attack it. Just throw as much money at it as you can. And once you pay it off, if it's a credit card, don't go back there. Don't go back into credit card debt. Just leave it and then go on to the next one. So you'll want to rank your debts from highest to lowest and start knocking off your lowest. And really what this is going to do is it's going to give you momentum. Try to get those low ones, just get the quick wins. And then once you get those low ones, it'll give you some momentum, and then you can attack other debts. And then try to stay out of debt. This is extremely difficult for many of us, especially in today's economy. It's really hard when things are really expensive. But if you got the previous steps in place, then you're already starting to get cash flow going, and you're going to have a really good opportunity to pay out debt. And then as you pay it off, use the minimum payment from that one to roll into the next one. and then just keep going. The emergency fund. Why? I can just use my credit card. No, don't do that. Put aside $1,500 Canadian. If you're in the US, that's like $1,000. Put this aside. So before you actually do any of the other things, make sure to have an emergency fund. And why do you have an emergency fund? Because when you're driving your car down the road and then all of a sudden you pop a tire, if you don't have an emergency fund, what do you have to do? You're gonna have to go back into debt. Do you wanna go back into debt? No, you don't wanna go back into debt. So make sure to have an emergency fund. Have at least $1,000 set aside. I would say 1,500 Canadian. And then once you have that 1,500, then start attacking your debt. But an emergency fund is really gonna help you out when life throws you curveballs. Just a few weeks back, we had our dryer just absolutely fail on us. I found out it was the coil. I was able to take it apart, and I was able to put a new coil in it. But if I didn't have an emergency fund, then what would I have to do? I'd have to put that on a credit card, or I'd have to maybe wait another month, and that wouldn't do us any good if we needed that dryer right away. So at first, you're just going to raise $1,500, put it aside. I know that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but $1,500, get to that $1,500. And then once you have all your debts paid off, then you're gonna try to get that emergency fund to 3 to 6 months of your income. And the 3 to 6 months depends on many factors. If you are married and have kids, you're probably gonna want more like a 6-month emergency fund set aside. If you are single and you're not married, you're a single girl, single guy, and you're just gonna need about 3 months expenses. So track your expenses. If your expenses are $10,000 a month, then make sure to save up $30,000 to $60,000 in an emergency fund. And that seems like crazy, but this is absolutely going to save you. If you get let go from your job, you're not gonna have to go into this panic mode and be like,
what am I gonna do now?
But actually, you're gonna have that emergency fund set aside, and you're gonna just be able to say, well, it kind of sucks that you're letting me go, but all right, I'll have to figure something out. And so that will give you time with that extra emergency fund set aside to look for a new job, look for new prospects, possibly do some research on changing your career and those kinds of things. If you don't have that emergency fund, then you're gonna go straight into panic mode. You could lose your house, you could lose your apartment, those kinds of things. So make sure to have 3 to 6 months emergency fund set aside. Okay. Another way to make sure you have cash flow is investing. Make sure that once you finish all these steps, that you start investing. Investing is one of those ways that's really going to help boost your cash flow by making your money work for you. When you get 10% returns on your money each year, plus dividends added to that, that is you not having to work. And as your investments grow, then that amount of money each year is going to also grow. So much so that the contributions that you're making, eventually you'll be getting those back in dividends or in investment growth. And at my age now, I'm in my 40s and we have over $100,000 in investments. But at this point in time, the amount of contributions that I'm making is much less than what my investments are paying me. So investing is a great way for you to be able to pay yourself without having to work a lot harder, and it's really going to give you extra cash flow. So invest wisely. But when you invest, you're going to want to diversify your investments. And what this really means is don't put all your eggs in one basket. So you're not going to just YOLO into Tesla stock or GameStop or whatever stock that you really like or want to dabble in. You're going to want to spread that out. If you even have an index fund, like an S&P 500 index fund, that's going to diversify you across 500 of America's top companies. Then you're going to want, as a Canadian, you're going to want to have some access to the Canadian market and international market. So spread it across those kinds of markets, the US market, Canadian market, international market. And if you're a bit older, you're going to want to get into bonds or maybe money markets that aren't as fluctuating, or even in GICs just to protect your money. But make sure to invest wisely. Stay away from penny stocks and don't go gambling on other investments that seem to look attractive and look like they're going to make you lots of money, but actually they might just lose you a lot of money. So make sure to invest wisely. Finally, make sure to check up on your financial situation regularly. Check up on your budget weekly, check up on your investments quarterly, and make sure that you check up on your financial situation regularly. Don't leave it to the last minute. Don't leave it until something goes sideways. Make sure to check up on it regularly. A good way to do this is to have, this is called the Clever Fox, and you can have goals set in here. You can have your budget numbers, your tracking of expenses, and it has a monthly review of what you're doing. Are you reviewing everything monthly? Make sure you're reviewing everything monthly to make sure that you're keeping on track. And actually, there's a lot of apps out there that have this where it shows a monthly review and it shows if you're meeting your goals, and if you're not, you need to adjust. Sometimes when maybe you're investing, one of your areas is growing substantially quicker than the rest. Well, make sure to balance those things out, invest, spread it across each of the areas that you're investing, and that you are checking up on this regularly. And guys, don't be afraid to make adjustments. Sometimes life just throws you a curveball and maybe you lose your job, or maybe something changes. Well, if something significantly changes in your budget and changes your cash flow, well then maybe you have to put on pause the amount that you're paying towards your debt. And that's okay. Just make sure that these pauses are not long-term. Short-term pauses, short-term changes are okay, but you do want to make sure that you're checking up on your financial situation often and regularly. Well, thanks guys for watching, and I hope this video has really been helpful and that you can really grab hold of some of these tips and really use them. Make sure to watch some of these other videos here and check out my other content, and stick around for other financial tips, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye-bye guys.